When my daughter entered the workforce and she started experiencing the difference and she started questioning me about it, I started giving her these sweet messages and tactics and strategies on how to deal with this. And she looked at me aghast. Really, Mummy? I had brought her up to believe that it was an equal world. And suddenly I was giving her these nuggets of wisdom, and that made, it almost broke down the conversation, our communication. And it made me sit back and think that is there a new normal that we need to aspire for? Is there an androgynous workplace that really makes sense? And the key thing, do we need to change the rules of the game? And then the key thing that comes to me is there a business case for this? Unless there is a business case, this is not going to happen just because the women who are not the majority want to become the majority, right? There has to be a business case. And when I look at the world that we are, the ESDM world, what is happening? IoT is happening. What is IoT? IoT is about taking this technology, this hardware, software technology, beyond just communications and entering every sphere, every industry. What does it mean? It means the Y2K opportunity for India, for the ESDM workforce. It means an explosion of need of hardware and software engineers. Are we going to be wise and use those 10th and 12th standard toppers who are all women and then bring them into this workforce and grab this opportunity? That's what we need to think about. What are the skills that we need? Okay, we need mass customization. Okay, there is expansion. I already talked about this. So let's move on to the next slide. Now look at this analysis about security in the ESDM world. There's a complex analysis that goes on that requires multidisciplinary thinking. It requires collaboration amongst different disciplines and different organizations, different industries to come together to solve these problems. Do women bring some specific strengths, natural strengths that we have grown up with our legacy? We see our grandmothers, mothers, our aunts coming together every day in the kitchen to put that food on the table without worrying who gets the credit, right? We are naturally collaborative. We are naturally multidisciplinary. We naturally think about the big goal. We naturally know how to make the right compromises to achieve the big goal. Is the business going to take advantage of that? We bring a diverse perspective to every discussion. Is the business going to take advantage or going to create the glass ceilings and the glass cliffs and force us to adapt to the way they know how to think? Okay, that's the question that I leave this forum with.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pamela. With that, I really want to open this up for the elite audience out here in terms of what you bring, and your insights are going to be very, very important for us because this is a dialogue. And having said that, there is a quote which I read which is very, very endearing, and I think it makes sense to all of us. This is how the quote goes: live without pretending. Because we started off this session with Mr. Pujari talking earlier on, talking about ethical and entrepreneurship and so on. So live without pretending, love without depending, listen without, what do you think it is? Defending, and speak without offending. With that, over to the audience to speak without offending. At the same time, do listen, and we are going to listen without any defensive way of looking at things. Over to the audience, please. Microphones out there. Thank you. Just introduce yourselves, and remember what Vasanthi has outlined earlier. Be crisp, introduce yourself, and tell us what you want to share.
I'm Sucharita Ishwar, and I work with women entrepreneurs, helping them to start up and to scale up, and I'm setting up a technology platform for that. You started the session with some very interesting data, and coming from the world of entrepreneurship, I just wanted to place some more data and follow that up with a question to the panelists. The data on women enterprises in India shows that they are a little over 10% of all the business enterprises in the country. That's number one. And number two is that 95% of these enterprises belong in the micro and the small scale sector. So that really points to the fact that although we are almost 50% of the population, we are really, really minuscule when it comes to the world of business, particularly entrepreneurship. So my question to the panelists is, like, you know, I heard some of you saying that you need to be equipped, you need to be confident, and you need to just do your best. So given that, why do you think that women are not becoming entrepreneurs and remaining down there in the micro sector?
So I'll take this question. I think I will talk especially about the semiconductor industry. And if you look at it, really there are, you know, there are less entrepreneurs altogether in the semiconductor industry. And over there, obviously, you know, women being a smaller percentage of the workforce, it's lesser. But if you really, you know, I think, and I have thought about this many times, one of the things that in the semiconductor industry especially, you know, it is, and I'm not putting down software, but really the barrier of entry is higher. You need to have the depth of knowledge and understanding of this industry and what value you can bring to the table, and that requires years of experience and understanding of, you know, technology and the industry. With more and more women falling out earlier on and not staying, you know, till they kind of gain that experience, it's not easy to start something after just working 2 years in the industry and say that, you know, tomorrow I'm going to form my own company in the semiconductor space especially. And I think that is one of the biggest, you know, reasons why you see so many, so less women entrepreneurs, especially in this segment.
And also to add to that, Pamela has already shared with us what's the opportunity or the big wave where we can tap into not just male, but also women out there who may not want to really get into the workforce in terms of the 9 to 5 or more, and they can be at home, because IoT should open up those opportunities where you can start tapping into what we call as the untapped economic engine called women.
Yeah.
Sorry? Oh, sure.
I think
Introduce yourself.
yeah, my name is Hema. I run a manufacturing outlet. We make battery operated cycles and scooters out of Coimbatore. I'm basically a software engineer. Came into manufacturing consciously, so the question that she asked is what I was asking when I started my enterprise. And it was very daunting to see that many women want to come, but they don't want to be, even seem to be, you know, taking more extra. You know, in the village where they come from, they don't want to be seen as taking an extra mile to go to work or something like that. So most of them spend only 9 to 6. So what we did was, I wanted to have a factory, particularly electric cycles, completely operated by women. So when we put that initiative, the first thing is, in 2008, a lot of textile mills were closed. So we took a lot of people from textile mills, trained them into automotive. And today, one line is managed by women. So I think that it is just that it's not that they don't want to come, it's a societal pressure. If you are able to give an ambience by which they're able to contribute, voice out, being in the industry, particularly manufacturing for the last 8 years, I have not been able to get one woman manager in my company. You know, it's completely, I would say, allow me to use the word male dominated. It is like that. But I think that another about 5 years, I could completely change it, because that is the will that we have to make it, and we have to prove it to ourselves that by then job creation happens, women are more empowered, they have, you know, economic livelihood enhanced. So a lot of those things, I think, is just that we have to take a will and we have to lead it. That's from my experience.
Thank you, Hema. That's a wonderful example you shared. Thank you so much for sharing it. And it also goes back to, as I've quoted McKinsey report, it talks about where are the women, you know, talent. 2 is they also talk about what are the skills we need to develop, and you're addressing that. And once you're able to bring them into the workforce, you can also tap and bring them into the managerial and the other levels as we're talking about. I have time for one last insight or question to wrap up. I want men. That's exactly where I'm looking at. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, my name is Chiranjeev. I am a researcher in high performance computing. And Pamela is always an inspiration. I have seen him leading very closely.
See, unconscious bias, you're saying him.
Yeah.
It's her.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you for pointing it out. So, following Pamela's one comment, right? So, you gave an example that you went for an interview and then you basically told the interviewer that you don't fit in that position but that position. Let's say, at this stage, if somebody comes to you, irrespective of a male or a female candidate, comes to you and say, you're interviewing him or her, capital H-E-R, I'm mentioning, okay? And you asking, and if that candidate tells you, no, Pamela, I don't fit here, I fit here, how do you react? What's your response?
Great question. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so the same way, as I said, I would stop back in my thinking and rethink my perception if I am trying to fit the person in a position they don't aspire for. Absolutely, and it happens all the time. But but the point is that yes, you need to renegotiate and reposition yourself, and that's a skill, especially as in the women thing. Now the question I deal with today is entrepreneurship. So many people come and tell me, Pamela, you need to start your own company, we'll join you, we'll help you, we'll support you. But there is that little, I have this comfort zone of having been in corporate and having that support system, you know. So I've done startups, but somebody else's startup, right? So, so these are things that we have to deal with, and renegotiating and repositioning is a very important skill, not only as women, but I think even as men aspiring to be leaders. It's extremely important, and it doesn't come easy.
Thank you. I think we have one more